Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. T. Premlata, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science from VLB Janakiraman College of Arts and Science. First of all, I wish the thanks and thanks for giving the opportunity to take a part in the webinar from Hindustan College of Arts and Science. I take a privilege to give a thanks to Dr. A. Ponnasamy, MS Principal of Hindustan College of Arts and Science. I also give a thanks to Dr. S. Anuradha, Convener, Professor and Head, Department of Mathematics from Hindustan College of Arts and Science. This is my agenda. Before going to the agenda, first we should know what is the need for attending this webinar. So due to COVID-19, the current scenario of education, the evaluation of education system has changed. So the assessment of students are evaluated through online. So in order to ensure the trust of assessment, it is essential to implement security in the assessment. That's why I decide to take this topic as my webinar. So in this agenda, today what we are going to be discussing is what is the meaning of web-based assessment and what are the benefits of getting web-based assessment and why we need transparency in web-based assessment and what are the vulnerabilities we faced at the time of submitting assessment through online. And after that, the evaluation of blockchain technology to ensure security in web-based assessment that we discussed. And then we discussed what are the applications or implemented using blockchain technology in higher education. At the end, we discuss the architecture of web assessment with blockchain technology for higher education. This is the overall activities of this webinar. So let's start. The definition of web-based assessment. It's mainly say the classroom assessment process. It combines any kind of computer application, as well as it needs an internet connectivity. The purpose of assessment is to determine or to assess the student's skill through in the form of achievements of the students. So how we can measure the achievements of the students is by implementing different learning skills. What are the benefits we gauge through web-based assessment? The first point, it is a very highly interactive and customizable. That means based on the need, we can design our own interactive sessions. And it needs to maintain the trustworthy between the end users and the servers. And it is secure and accessible from different kind of gadgets. So these are the things we benefited through online assessment. Apart from that, the assessment maybe belongs to dynamic as well as it based on the individualized skill. The grading of assessment is immediately gauged. And the purpose of web assessment is if we get a grade immediately, then it will eliminate the cheating and frauds. And apart from that, the last and the very important point is we can change the different, we can implement the different kind of assessment modes based on different kind of persons. As well as we get a feedback immediately from our students. So these are the benefits. And the web-based assessment need transparency. For what kind of, why we need transparency? What is the purpose of putting transparency in web-based assessment is, First thing, it will encourage the students to actively engage in the submission of e-assessment. And as well as if we implement transparency, it will satisfy the e-assessment policy and criteria for implementing the security. So that's why it's essential to implement a transparency between a teacher and student. So the transparency is very, very important at the time of submitting assessments through online. So what are the factors or need, or what are the factors or needed to implement or increase transparency in assessment is, first of all, we should have a clarity on assessment goals. That means how you are going to be assess your students. In what are the methods you used to gather the knowledge from your students. First, you have to be desired and you have to be clear in your goal. And second one, you have to be define a mechanism for getting that assessment or for implementing that assessment. And the third one, the teacher or the user has to be define a criteria. That means he has to be set a eligibility for attending that assessment or for submitting that assessment. So you should be set a criteria, as well as you should be set the standard. You should be set for standard for fixing the criteria. These are the key factors are very, very important to increase the transparency in assessment. Apart from that, it's the basic need is, it says the master of the knowledge. We should have a master of the particular subject knowledge. So these are the 4 things are needed to increase transparency in assessment. How the present assessment is implemented in e-learning system. In present scenario, any educational institute during examination system, what happened? An evaluator, that means the teacher, validate the answers that are given by our students. And after validation, it is not possible to perform revalidation of the validation performed by evaluator or teacher. It's never possible. So that means here what it refers is, in what way the teacher assess, that means in what methodology the teacher used to post a question, that also not defined, and how the students are answering that question, that also not defined. So that is the meaning. A particular question has so many answers. So the method of answering question is differ. We never focus a particular answer for a particular questions. So these are the methodology is implemented in current scenario. And second one is, second mechanism in our assessment is, everything is highly centralized. That means in our educational institute only maintain our records. Here, what happened is, here in our institute is maintaining all the data in a very secured manner. It's no doubt. But if everything comes in e-learning system, that means we should be assess the students through online, and we should be transfer the certificates through online. So everything in the terms of online mode. So in that situations, if we transfer the certificates through online, it is not possible to maintain the trust of the certificates. So that is also one minus that we discuss in later slides. And here, let's come back here. So in highly centralized, what happened is, it is maybe a chance for manipulating the certificates. That may be maybe giving a duplicate, forging the certificates, or maybe some users, maybe in entry level or maybe in administration level, they have a chance to manipulate the data. So that may be a chance, not fully, that may be a chance. And the last one, scorecard. That means the mark statement, it simply says, these are the, what we say is, these are the present scenario, but we consider this is okay. But these are the somewhat minus that I feel, that I realize. So in scorecard, that is in mark sheet, it simply says the marks of the particular subjects, and it never describe what kind of questions the evaluator asked and which manner the students use to answer the question. These two things are not present in the scorecard, as well as the scorecard simply maintains the marks. It never says the history of the students' performance. It never says the history of the students' performance. So these are the minus that I analyzed in the present assessment of e-learning system. After that, here in this slide, that we discussed in last slide, that is, there may be a chance for manipulating the data. Am I correct? So that's why how it is maintained in present scenario, how it is maintained is we are using NVD, that is National Vulnerability Database. The purpose of NVD is to scanning the database. Scanning the database regularly by using scan engine software. It's simply scanning the data. That means it simply scan if any other vulnerabilities occurs in periodical wise. So this is the mechanism we used in our present education system. If there is any vulnerability occurs, what happens is it will generate the results. It will generate the results and it sends the reports to the concerned user. And so here, the vulnerability factor scanning system. That means in the last slide, we need to use scanning software to perform the vulnerability checking. So for checking vulnerability mechanism, we need to implement the following factors. The first one, attack vector. That means it is a kind of mechanism, or we can say it as a kind of algorithm. It is used inside an FAT, file allocation table. It's a kind of attack vector. And second one, that means the first one says how much level the vulnerability attack is implemented. That is the first one. And the second one is the required privileges. Privileges in the sense we are setting the responsibilities for different roles. We are setting the responsibilities for different roles. That is the privileges. We need a privileges. That means what are the tasks done by each person, each role that we have to be set. And the confidentiality, that is a privacy, and the integrity in the sense correct data. We have to be maintaining the correct data. And the last one is availability, that is 24/7. The data should be available available at any time and anywhere. So these are the factors considered by the scanning software for checking vulnerability in the NVD database. And so the last slide says the vulnerability attacks repeatedly done by the web server of higher educations. Okay. And now, how we implement security in web assessment? What are the policies are decided by the standards that we see? So the security policy of web assessment. So the first one, the security policy contains, first one, the connections to or from the computer. That means it says where it comes and where it goes. That is a source and destination. And the second one, which connection mode you are using, which connection, that is PSTN, that is public switched telephone network, that is PSTN, ISP, internet service provider, cable modem, which kind of mode, which kind of connection mode for connecting internet you use, that is a dial-up connections. And the third one is physical security, that is access control for accessing a particular gadgets, locks, keys, alarms. And the next one is user or administrator rights and responsibilities. What are the responsibilities and rights we assign? And Next, logs. It's define a system behaviors and interaction. How the different users are logged and how they behaved, how they perform a behave, how they behaved in the way of interaction with the system. The last one is protection of sensitive information. That is, it protect a credit card, debit card, as well as license and Aadhaar. So these things are very, very sensitive data. So they should be protected. So these are the things should be protected. That should be maintained whenever we implement a security policy. So these are the factors has to be considered at the time of implementing security policy. And sorry. And here, how we implement blockchain technology in web assessment. What is the purpose for implementing blockchain technology in web assessment? So there are 4 points. Number one, the first thing is we can implement a security, and the second one, we can enhance accountability and transparency. Accountability in the sense the same way that we discussed in last slide, that is we define different roles and responsibilities. So that is accountability, and transparency in the sense we should be define a policy for performing any mechanisms. That should be transparency. And the third one, implement security, that is trust. The last one, reduce the unnecessary cost associated with the transactions and storage of data. That means in our present scenario, the data is stored in a single, that is centralized system. But if we use blockchain, the data is distributed. So that's why we can reduce the cost. So these are the 4 ways, 4 benefits we get if we implement blockchain technology in web assessment. And the last slides are continued in the next slide also. So here we can perform authentication in both student sides as well as in staff side, as well as we can authenticate the certificates also. And the second one, it can enhance the learning outcomes performance of students, because here we implement different kind of uh, learning activities, that is through games or through short stories or puzzles. We can implement different kind of learning activities, so it will automatically improve the performance of the students, and it will enhance the learners interactivity, because we are providing, instead of lecturing, we can provide different kind of learning, different kind of mode to learn things. And the next one, enhance the system interoperability. That means we can operate a system from any kind of digital gadgets. The last one, supporting learners career decision. That means it will connect all different kind of what we say, that is it will connect the industries and educational institutions. So this tie-up will improve the learners learning methodology. So that's why the learners can decide their career. So that also helped by blockchain technology in web assessment. And the next one, what are the applications of blockchain technology is implemented in higher education? So the first one, we can implement multi-learning activities. That means we can implement games, puzzles, short stories. And what are the benefits we get these kind of learning activities? It will raise the performance of the students, because we are facing different kind of students in different kind of mindset, different background. So that can be easily analyzed by implementing multi-learning activities. The next application is we can implement a critical thinking. That means That is what we see, the analytical problems, that is analysis, and we can interpreting the particular sentence or particular paragraph, how they are interpreting. And inferences, that means deriving a new thing from an existing one. That is an inference, how the students are deriving a new, or how they build a new thing based on a legacy systems. That also we can implement it. Inferences, explanation, how they are interpret and explaining, self-regulations, and problem solving. These are the things we can cover under the critical thinking. So that also enhance the learning process. The next one, digital certificates. So if everything is digitalized, if the certificate is digitalized and it is what we say, and it is authorized one, in the sense it will implement, it will automatically increase the trust and privacy level. And the next one, fees paid. Paying fees among institutions, organizations, or even universities, or can be tie up with blockchain technology. So it will improve, it will increase the high security as well as the trustee of blockchain. And the next kind of application is digital guardianship constant. Constant in the sense it's a kind of forum. So form a e-constant for parents or guardians of students to analyze the student mentoring. That is why that student is behaved in different way in our class. So what are the what are this what is what is his real background? So that is also analyzed in our digital guardianship constant. The next one, ubiquitous learning. That means collaboration learning. Anyone can join in anywhere and they can be learned at any time with high security. After that, they can write an exam and they can get a digitalized and trusty certificates, in the sense it's very, very useful to the students as well as the staff. And the next one, evaluation system. If we implement blockchain in evaluation system, we can assess the professional skills of the students. How we assess the professional skills of the students is by posting the questions and validating the answers that we discussed in the last slides of our webinar topic. So based on their academic achievements and performance. Apart from that, the exam papers also auditing. We never make forgery of the exam papers. So that is also, exam papers can be auditing by using trusted ledgers. That is our blockchain technology. So this is the main motto of the today's webinar topic. And the last one is recruitment. The final aim of student is to getting a placement. So if we link educational institutions and employment enterprise, in the sense it will increase the employability of the students. So these are the applications we benefited if we combine blockchain technology with higher education. And please look at the image. So it's a diagram for how a particular student is getting a digital certificates and how it will be validated by the employer. So that is the process is depicted in this diagram. For example, the student name is Leah. She is studying at the university. See the here, she is studying at the university, and she completed her Bachelor of Science in Software Engineering. She completes. So after that, obviously, she will get a certificates. At present, if we implement blockchain, in the sense, what happened is the certificate is credential. That is, she get a certificates by using blockchain technology. If the university issues the certificate using blockchain technology, in the sense, what happened, that we see in the next the pictures. So the third one, the university issues a Bachelor of Science credential on the blockchain networks after getting a digital certificates. What happened? After getting a certificate, the certificate has to be locked. Once an organization issues a credential, it never be altered. This is the important benefit in our blockchain. If the user tries to make some changes in the digital certificates, everything will be collapsed. That also we see how it will be implemented in technically. That also we are going to be seeing in the further slides. And after that, see here, the LIAC. After that, what happened? After completing a degree, she will get a job. So if she get a job in IBM, see, in that place also she passes the certification and is issued an IBM Blockchain Foundation for Developers credential on the blockchain networks. In that working place also she get a certification. She pass a certification and she get a certification by using blockchain network. Okay. After that, what happened is the purpose of getting the purpose of passing certification is what? To for aiming a higher post or for aiming a high salary. So automatically her manager, the next thing, there is a need for verification as well as validating her certificate. So what happened is her manager wants to verify her credentials. That is in the form of digital certificates. LIAC's BS, that is a Bachelor of Science, and blockchain's credentials are easily traced back to the organizations that issued them. Here what happened is the industry is, if we use blockchain, the industry is connected with educational institutions. So automatically the manager can easily check the trustee of her certificates. It's not need to take a at present what happened is the employer has to be make a call to the college office, and they will connect with the department, and the department person has to be verify their credentials, then they inform their manager. So it may be take maybe 1 or 2 weeks. But if we use blockchain technology, her manager can get the trustee of her certificates immediately. So this is the purpose of using blockchain in digital certificates. And after that, see, the LIAC's credentials are on the blockchain network along with everyone else, creating a single tamper resistant ledger. That is the last one. What it says is, in that manner, similar to LIA, there are so many students are getting digital certificates. How those certificates are maintained in blockchain, how it will be secured, that is depicted in the last one. So what happened is here, after completing it, after getting digital certificates in both BS as well as in blockchain, as well as in our certifications, what happened is it will create 2 blocks. First block, Bachelor of Science certificates. Second block, her certification. So it will create 2 blocks, and with tamper. Tamper in the sense that time. It will say is the time, at what day and what time it will be created. That is a tamper, as well as tamper resistant ledger. Ledger in the sense it's a kind of transaction entry. So that also we see in our block. So everything is in the form of digitalized. If anyone breaks the chain, what happens is it will collapse the entire. That means collapse the entire in the sense not in the persons, not in the certificates, not in the digital certificates. It collapse the entire in the sense it will give a notifications to the members of the blockchain network. That means it will give a notification to the members of the blockchain networks, and the users of the blockchain networks can collapse the activities of the hackers. That's the meaning. So in the way, we can make a trustee in our digital certificates if we use blockchain in our higher educations. And here in further slides, what we are going to be discussing is what is the meaning of blockchain, what is block, how it will be maintained. So that we discuss. So the definition of blockchain. First of all, what is blockchain? It's a kind of data structure. Data structure. That is, it's a define a kind of structure. That means it's a kind of a ledger. Ledger in the sense, it simply says maintain the activities. What are the transactions we do, and where it comes, where it goes, and how many users are verify this. Everything is maintained in the time in the manner of ledger. That is called chronological transaction. That is, in the previous slides, we say we should know the history of the students that not maintained in the scorecard. But if we use blockchain, the history of the student scoring card as well as his academic details, his everything can be maintained. That is called ledger, and that ledger is in the form of distributed. That is, it's not stored in a single place. It is distributed. That is in cloud. That means we can retrieve from anywhere at any time. So this is a kind of blockchain, and it is easily created and shared. That is called distributed. It is easily created by persons in the blockchain network, and it will be shared by the users. And after that, the last one, the definition of blockchain is it allows the user to make and verify the transactions immediately. Whatever transactions I do, that can be I verified immediately without a central authority. That means I don't need any third party users to assess a trust of particular thing. So that is the main motto of blockchain. It's not need of any third party. Okay. Next. I hope this diagram will explain more how the blockchain has to be worked. See the first one, if someone requests any kind of transactions, so there, if someone initiate a transaction, so that should be here. That should be comes into the network of the blockchain. Here, what happened is this network is considered as a peer-to-peer network. That is, a particular system can act as a client as well as server. Here, no one is client and no one is server. Everyone is act as a client and act as well as act as a server. So the requested transaction comes into the peer-to-peer network. Nodes in the sense it says a system. That's what. The another name of system is considered as a nodes. In network, we can say nodes as a system. Okay. So if the requested transaction comes into the network of blockchain, what happens is the users in the network has to be validate the transaction. That means they have to be verified whether the transaction is trusted. If the transaction is trusted in the sense, what happens is they simply said it's a verified transaction. They simply say it's a verified transaction. If the transaction is not verified or not valid in the sense, they simply collapse it or ignore it. And the verified transaction consists of the following things. Number one, cryptocurrency, digital tokens, records, or other kind of information. So that should be added in our transaction. That is, if you initiate a transaction in the sense, that should be verified by the network users. After verification, they said it's a verified transaction. That means they add some information into your transactions. That information consists of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency in the sense, it's a kind of cryptographic. That means it's a kind of mathematical numbers which will be converted as a cryptocurrency. And after that, what happened is it will be considered as locked and it won't be changed. And after lock, what happened is it will be joined with the blocks that is created by already. So that is all joined here. Once after that, what happened is After verified, what happens is the transaction is combined with other transactions to create a new block of data for the ledger, the same thing. So in this scenario, how blockchain works is if someone requests any transaction, in the sense that transaction has to be verified by the users of the blockchain. After verified, that should be marked as lock. That's all. Lock in the sense verified. Verified in the sense it should be assumed as a block. So after creating a block, what happened is it simply added that block into the blocks that we created already. And what are the terminologies used in blockchains? So that we discussed in last slide, cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency in the sense it's a kind of currency that is in day-to-day life, we use a currency that is a rupees that is generated by RBI that we can see physically. But cryptocurrency is it's a kind of digital currency, but we can't see physically. It's a kind of digital currency, and it is secured by cryptography by using mathematical numbers. So that is cryptocurrency. And how it is secured? In the sense by using hash value. By using hash value, that hash value is generated by cryptography algorithm. That's all. A digital value, that is a kind of mathematical numbers. So that should be secured by using hash value. How this hash value is created? How this hash value is created is we can generate a value or values from a string. That is, we can give us some, that is with this hash value in the sense what we say is in our computer domain, we use two kind of key. One is public key and another one is private key. So public key and private key in the sense, in normal login in the sense we are using a key, am I correct? Username and password, that is considered as key. Public key in the sense it's known to all. Private key in the sense only the particular person has to be known. So that is considered as string of text. So whatever key you used for opening a particular applications, that is if you are using a mobile, you are using some pattern, am I correct? That is also considered as a key. So that key, that form of pattern is converted as a hash value. Then we use that hash value for protecting the mathematical numbers. That is cryptocurrency. That's all. And the next one is Bitcoin. How this blockchain is implemented, which is the base, and how it is implemented. What is the base for creating blockchain is Bitcoin. So it is a digital currency. It is created in January 2009, and it is developed by Satoshi Nakamoto. This Satoshi Nakamoto, it's not a author name, maybe a kind of group. So this person has to be proposed. This person has to be proposed a digital currency in January 2009. And the next slide, the structure of blockchain, how the blockchain is formed. This is a technical terms, that is, see, in the last two slides, we said the particular transaction is verified. After verified, then it will be locked. After locked, what happens? It will be created as a block. So the same thing here, each blocks, here we are having a 3 blocks, block 1, block 2, block 3. So each blocks are considered as 3 different transactions. That's all. Block 1, block 2, block 3. So we simply connect all the blocks. This is called blockchain. Blockchain in the sense we are connecting the blocks. Each block is considered as a particular transaction of the user. Okay. After that, what happened is a particular block has what kind of information it has, that we see in next slide. So here, what happened is in this images, see all the blocks are having a header. That means the header says the security policy that we discussed in last slides. That is the connections, dial-up connections, and source and destination informations, private, then logs. That is, these are the informations are maintained in the block 1 header. That means the source and destinations, source IP address, destination IP address, who enters and what are the who enters, for what purpose they entered, and what time they entered, what are that things, the timestamp, everything is maintained in the block header. After that, see, it's a kind of hash value. Why we are having this hash value is to protecting the block. to protecting the block. And the hash value in the sense it's a random value. It's a random value. For example, if I use a particular text, for example, if I use blocks, if I use a particular word, maybe the ROM as a my key. You just imagine RAM as a key. If I want to generate a hash value for RAM, so what I do? I simply give this RAM into my cryptography algorithm. Then that cryptography algorithm will generate hash value for that RAM. That's all. So hash value in the sense your key value. Whatever key you are using or whatever credential you are using. So that will be given as an input and it will be create a hash value. The same way, every hash value has to be maintained by each block. And see the next part, our term is chain. That means we are linking the blocks. So linking the blocks in the sense a block has a address of the previous as well as address of the next one. So that should be maintained. And the next one, the third one, it says the root of hash tree. That is McLeod tree that we see in the next slides. So root of the hash tree in the sense it will say the chronology of transactions, what it does, and that we see in the scorecard. Again, I compare the details in a scorecard. So if we want to know the transaction history or chronology of particular students, then we can use blockchain in the sense there is a possibility of maintaining the history of transaction 1, 2, 3, transaction 1, 2, 3. So that should be maintained in the root of hash tree. So the same thing, H in the sense hash function. So the same thing. So it's a connection of blocks. So it's our physical things and this is our logical things. So our transactions will be converted as a blocks. And after that, this slide says the terms inside. The terms has to be placed inside the block. A block consists of a block header as well as block body. So first block version, McLeod tree, root hash, timestamp, n bits, nonce, parent block. That means we linking the next blocks and transaction counter. That means we have to be fixed the threshold value. That is the maximum number of transactions. How many transactions you are going to be do. So that should be set in our transaction counter. The threshold, maximum number of transactions you have to be set. And after that, the next one refers the number of transaction history. So whatever we discussed in the last slide, the same thing we discuss in a detail in our technical. So the same thing, structure of block version, the same McLeod tree, root hash, timestamp, current time as seconds in universal time since January 1, 1970, n bits. The same thing, whatever we discussed in last, the same thing we described here. So the maximum number of transactions in the sense it depends on the threshold value. And the last and one more point I forget to say, blockchain uses an asymmetric cryptography mechanism. That is, in normally cryptography in the sense it uses two different kind of mechanism. One is symmetric and another one is asymmetric. Symmetric in the sense only one key, that is public key. Asymmetric in the sense two keys, private key and a public key. For example, you just imagine a scenario, a two-person wants to initiate a transaction. Only two-person wants to initiate a transactions. So not in a same place, they are located in a different place. That place, they want to initiate a transactions in a secured way. So what happened is, these two members or make a agreement. That is, they fix a particular key as a common. They have to be used this key for sending a message as well as they have to be used the same key for receiving a message. So that is symmetric. They are using only one key for making transactions. And in asymmetric, what happened is the same two persons, they decide one key is public. Anyone can know. But another one is private. Whoever wants to identify, wants to know the meaning of the text in the sense they can use a private key. So that is asymmetric. So blockchain use asymmetric, that is a particular key is known to all, and the which person wants to download, that person only use the private key. So that is a main advantage of using blockchain. And taxonomy of blockchain, that means the kind of blockchain, the three different types. Number one, public. Number two, private. Number three, consortium. Public in the sense all records are visible to public. Anyone can take part in the consents. Private in the sense only it allows a specific organization. Consortium in the sense a particular set of organizations can be involved. Next, this is our motor. Now we entering into the objective of our webinar. So now we are implementing a blockchain in web assessment. So how it is implemented? There are two things. Number one, here what happened is, first of all, the blockchain is decentralized, that we discussed already. Here we implement two mechanism. First one, two types of first thing. We should be evaluate the question as well as answers. We should be assess the question. What way you are asking, what methodology you are used for asking a question. And second one is which way the student used to answering the question. So that should be verified. And the third one, the quality of the question has to be voted by the consents of the users. So these are the things are implemented in the blockchain. See the diagram. So it's a local database maintained by the educational institutions. And if we implement blockchain technology in our educations, what happens that we discuss in this diagram. So this is our institutions. They are using their own database to maintaining other students' records. And here we are having one blockchain technology to decentralize the blockchain, decentralize the certificates using blockchain technology. So how it is implemented, how this process is implemented, that we see now. So first of all, see the step-by-step transaction is implemented in the form of number. So first thing, the defined conditions, that means we should be set the eligibility to get the certificates. What are the eligibility the students possess to get the certificates? That should be defined by the institutions to the group of networks, those who are providing the digital certificates using blockchain technology. Those are the eligibility condition has to be set by the institutions. After that, see. Number two. See here. Now, we just focus the learner in the sense the students. So they simply sit in front of the system, and after that they enroll the course and they will get a ID. So that should be mentioned here, assigned local learner ID. So after that they simply learn a thing. And the next thing is how we are assessing the knowledge of the particular student is by using exams. So that should be implemented here. They have to be complete the exam, and after completing exam, that should be evaluated by a teacher, and the exam results are stored in a local database of the particular institutions. So that is our database. After that, what happened is, the motto of this webinar is, instead of storing the certificates in a centralized location, we simply distribute the certificates to ensure the trusting. So that's why what happened is, see the fifth one, the data has to be the whatever the data, that means the particular student's data, that's the meaning this, the particular student's data has to be converted as a blocks. So that is a right data. So in the by using blocks, so that is the same thing. So distributed ledger, that is a ledger in the sense a kind of block. So the every block has to be distributed and it has to be linked. So that is here propagate data among peers in the sense it's a kind of node. Insert the initiate the transactions, as well as after initiate what happened, it will be converted as a block, and the block has to be added into the pool, and after that block is will be added as a added into the chain. So that is here the same thing. These technology that we discussed already in the previous slides. So after creating a block, what happened is, see the sixth one, confirm certificate issue. Okay, we can issue the certificates. After that, the certificates can be issued by the learner. So here, what are the benefits the learner gets is, after getting a certificate, the learner has to be get a job. The employer has to be verify the certificates. So in that situations, the certificates can be, if the employer is connected with blockchain technology, then he can, it's a very easiest process to verify the learner certificates. Otherwise, the employer can interact the institutions can easily verify the learner's certificates trust. So this is the architecture of getting a certificates using blockchain technology after assessment of a particular student. And what are the challenges of blockchain? The first thing, every technology, every coin has a coin has both sides. So the same thing, a blockchain has challenges also. So the first one, it never gives a guarantee for transactional privacy, because here in our blockchain we are using symmetric cryptography that we discussed in last slide. That means the user use two keys, public key and private key. Public key in the sense everyone know, private key only known to the particular user. So here what they said is the public key is known to all, so it's not possible to guarantee. So that is also one minus. And the scale and the scalability is, if we increase the size of the blocks, if we increase the size of the block, in the sense automatically the speed of the blockchain technology is reduced. So the scalability, it has a scalability problem. And the third one is immutability. That means it's not possible to change. Block in the sense after verifying a transaction, then we be considered as a lock. We never change it. That is called as immutability. If we implement blockchain technology in government certificates, what happens is, if we want to make some changes in the certificates, it's too difficult. The citizen has to be face the law and order things. So that is also one of the issues. And the next one is, it's implement a high implementation cost, because today's trend is today's we are using centralized system, and we can easily modify the things with the help of gazetted officers. But if we implement everything in online, that is by using blockchain, we will face a law and order issues, as well as it has a more cost for setting and as well as implementations. Any other queries, ma'am?